Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ryan and Brian Talk Sports. I feel like it's been forever since we had the show, despite only being 1 week ago. But I just have been running around busy, and then Wednesday I fly to Nashville, so I got a lot going
Nice.
on. But it's always
Hell,
nice to hop in here and do the show with you.
hell yeah. Happy Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. We have arguably the last NBA game of the season, which is kind of sad. We are talking about it a little bit before the show. Like, almost from a betting standpoint, I wouldn't even be that opposed to this being the final game, which is such an odd thing for me to say, I feel like. But uh, I'm almost tired of betting this series. But at the same time, as a fan, I want more basketball. So I guess whatever happens, I'll live with. It'll be pretty fun
So
either
I
way.
guess the question is, if you're not aware, Ryan has like 80 bets, I think, ready for this game. I think
We're
he's
loaded.
he's got a lot of volume today, so I actually have less volume just to kind of let you cook on the stream because we got a lot to fit in here. But how many of your a million bets are on the NBA slate?
Two NBA, five MLB.
Perfect. So that's perfectly why that's a good reason why we're starting with MLB. So
There you
why don't
go.
you kick us off? We'll just get right into it and have you start talking to them. Like I'm actually impressed that you have a lot of MLB volume because this is a weird Monday slate with like what 8 games, but it feels like there's three that are
It,
actually fun.
I don't know what it was when I woke up this morning. It's funny. The only reason I only have seven is because I had to turn off or not turn off. I just had to stop looking at the books because I kept finding shit that I liked. So I don't know what it was about today. The brain was just flowing the way you hope it does this morning. So I guess we'll find out if it really was. But at least a lot of things looked good on paper. So I locked a bunch of shit in real quick. The only reason I'm capped at seven is because I stopped looking because it's like, all right, that should be enough for the night.
Yeah, so
So
let's kick us off. What's your first play on this Monday slate?
hell yeah. Let's see where to even start. So let's start in the Reds game. I got a K prop for that game. It ain't pretty, but we'll go ahead and start with my man Luke Weaver. So we need him for over 4.5 strikeouts. I believe the best line is FanDuel. Now I have a lot of props, so you'll kind of have to bear with me for prices because they're ever changing, and I locked a lot of these in before noon even hit. So, but I think you have pretty good odds over at FanDuel, like minus 108 range. So simply put, this guy stinks. However, so do the Royals. The Royals are fucking trash. So the Royals have a 24.7% K rate versus right-handed pitching over the last 30 days. They average exactly 9 strikeouts per game, which is the ninth worst in the league. Their projected lineup was just so bad. So bad. Had a projected 27% K rate and with five guys at 28.6% or worse. So, I mean, he's loaded with targets, and even the best K rate was still over 20%. So he has 9 guys that are huge targets for strikeouts. So while Luke Weaver isn't really that good, he's been okay with strikeouts. He's almost 1K per inning kind of guy. 46 strikeouts and 47.1 innings. So he's right on that line of a one strikeout per inning guy. And that's with tough matchups. Say what you want about his talent. This poor bastard came in and he faced Pittsburgh, Texas, San Diego, the Mets, the Marlins, the Yankees, the Cardinals, the Red Sox, and the Dodgers. That's a really hard 9-game schedule for pitchers. So I'm sure he's pretty excited to face this team tonight. And hopefully he can pull off 5 strikeouts. I really don't think it's asking for that much. His outs line is 15.5 with slight juice to the over. So books think, they're leaning 5 or more innings. If you want to kind of use that as a little mini cheat code. And I think he can manage a strikeout per inning versus this team. So I don't think that's inconceivable by any means. So my first play, Luke Weaver over 4.5 strikeouts. And actually, it looks like minus 105 on DraftKings. Nope, sorry, just changed. It's minus 110 on DraftKings. I believe it's minus 108 on FanDuel, something along those lines.
I'm glad you brought that up as your first game. Is that the only prop slash play you have in that game, the Reds
It's
game?
not
What is
actually.
your other one? Because I'm interested to see what your other prop is in that game.
Okay. Actually, I wanted to go ahead and double check on the actual lineup. I just remembered it probably had come out, but there is Edward Olivares, who's actually a sub 20% K rate guy. But however, the rest of the lineup's just as gorgeous as I was hoping for. So no concerns there really at all. So I really did want to go Ellie in this situation. I know we got a bunch of people hopping on and mentioning Ellie pretty quickly off the bat. Elliott is fucking amazing. I'm having a really fun time watching this guy so far. I do not have him as my pick though. I have his fellow rookie Matt McClain, who I don't know if you know how closely you guys follow me, but I probably had like 5 Matt McClain bets last week. I fucking love this kid. This dude's been a wagon. He actually didn't come through for me yesterday. He was 1 for 5. I had him for total bases. Today I'm going to pivot to hits plus runs plus RBIs and have him over 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBI. I believe it's minus 125 on DraftKings last I checked. So, my first bullet point is like, this is my daily Matt McClain bet. I mean, I bet this man very often since he's come up, and I don't really plan to stop, especially if he keeps hitting the way he's hitting. It seems quiet, but he's quietly batting 336. He should get the 2-hole tonight, I'd imagine. Let me double check that. I'm sure that their lineup is out. Yeah, he's batting second in their lineup on the road. So if they're able to get to Greinke / that bullpen, 5 at bats is not out of the question by any means. He's got 325 average versus righties, 346 average in road games, 313 average in night games. So all splits look good. He's over this 1.5 in 72% of the games since he came up to the majors. So I mean, he's been crushing this line. Over the last 30 days, the Reds are 6th in batting average overall, and they're 1st in on base percentage. And going against Greinke tonight, who actually has a fairly low WHIP for such a high ERA. He's not giving up a ton of base hits, but good enough for me. He's still got a 4.59 ERA. And the Royals behind him have the 2nd worst bullpen ERA in the entire major. So I think chances will be aplenty for Matt. I think he gets a good matchup pretty much every time he steps up to the plate. And I like the guys behind him to potentially knock him in. If by chance that TJ Friedel gets a double or something to lead off the game, and then Matt McClain gets single and RBI knocks him in, then even better. So I really am looking towards the hit and run portion of this. But if he gets an RBI, obviously that's awesome as well. So Matt McClain over 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs.
I like it. So I only bring that up because I don't know if people I have not placed a bet yet on this MLB slate, but there's one that I was looking at, and it's one of those ones where it's so gross to look at, but it's also one that it looks decent to me because you kind of mentioned you're backing Luke Weaver. I think Luke Weaver should have really good success against this team. You mentioned how bad he's been, but he's a little bit better on the road. He's only allowed 3 runs in his last 14 innings on the road, and he had to play some really tough teams. This Royals team is only hitting 219 against righties in the last month. Like they are not, making much happen on offense. And I don't know if you are out there listening to they follow the Ballpark Pal that comes out with the weather every single day.
Absolutely.
They're a great resource on Twitter. It's hard enough sometimes to score at Kauffman Stadium, but the wind apparently is blowing really much in. So I like the idea of total bases over home runs because they have it as like a minus 34% chance of home runs. They have like the boost. The weather on this slate is supposed to be really bad, and there's supposed to be a lot of wind coming in from the outfield, which would really hurt the home run slate on this game, I believe. So I was actually looking at taking the under in this game for the first 5. It's at 5, and it sounds so gross, but
Nice.
But you mentioned the point I wanted to say is that Zach Greinke, as weird as it is, he has that weird Rich Hill old man magic where his whip is so good. Like, he just doesn't allow hits. He doesn't walk. So I just think it's one of those games where if Luke Weaver handles business against the Royals, like Greinke's just not a guy that's going to get beat by a bunch of, singles and walks stacked up against each other. He has allowed 11 home runs this year, so he gets beat by the home run ball. But if the wind's really coming in that high and a lot of these balls will stay in the park, I think getting a 5 for the first 5 is a little high. It's actually funny because the Reds team total in the first 5 is listed at 1.5, juice to the over at minus 155, and the Royals are 2.5 to plus 115 to the over. So if you think about it, if the books are setting a 1.5 and a 2.5 line, and you can get 5 with a push, it kind of just feels like it should be at that 4.5. So I think I'm going to look at taking that because I think Weaver should handle business. And like I said, as scary as the Reds offense has been, for them to put up that much runs, they're going to have to string together hits, which is the one thing that Greinke is usually really good at, avoiding.
Yeah, he hasn't been as bad as I want him to be. There's all these poor old guys that pitch around the majors that I'm like, dying for them to be terrible. Rich
Yeah.
Hill being one, and I fade Rich Hill. I actually didn't in his last start because I just hate the Mets. I have no faith in the Mets. I think they're just so atrocious, and I think they actually played pretty well that game. People are asking for a home run lotto. I'll give out some
Yeah.
ideas a little later in the show.
Yeah.
I don't actually have any home run bets today, but I certainly don't mind throwing out an idea or two. Um,
Yeah. Someone in the chat just says, what is it? He said, so it looks like the wind is going to be blowing it or taking it back 10 feet. Yeah. If you look at the weather, like I don't like to always factor everything with the weather, but that caught my eye when I saw the ballpark, pal. It was like the worst stadium of the day where the wind is supposed to be really aggressive at Kauffman. So I am totally okay if there's a lot of hard hit balls that die out and keep the under alive. So I think I'm going to
right.
play the because it's under 5. You get the chance for the push minus 125, and it's listed at 4.5 every other book, about minus 110 each for the juice. So that 0.5 in MLB betting is so big that it's like the grossest play to back of Greinke and Weaver. But as I said, Weaver's better on the road and Greinke's been great at home. So I think it's one of those things where you see an 8.5 total and you kind of immediately think, oh, that's pretty low. Let's go for the over. But I think there's a reason for it. And I think getting 5 with a push is really nice.
Good deal. Good deal. I like that. I have a couple more to rattle off. I'll go ahead over to Texas. Another, every day I bet something on Texas, some way, somehow. I looked at their team totals a little too high for my blood, so I pivoted. And Josh Jung certainly came to mind. Jonah Heim came to mind. I settled in on Corey Seager. I think the odds they were just too good. I mean, I think this guy's worth a play at plus odds pretty much anytime he has plus odds. And he does get that lefty matchup, but he's a full on reverse splits guy. He's batting better against lefties than he is righties this season. So Tyler Anderson's pretty fadeable. He's got a 5.62 ERA, a 1.60 whip. His opponent batting average 284. Corey has faced Tyler Anderson 21 times. He has 8 hits, so a 381 average. One of those was a home run. He's got a 362 average versus left-handed pitchers. So, I mean, a lefty is no issue for him at all. His splits are very significant for home and away. He really seems to like his home park, where he bats 386 versus 306 on the road. At home, he has 12 extra base hits and 70 at bats. So, I mean, that's a huge hit rate. So, he's hitting 58% of games this year. He's hitting 61% of games at home, and he's over in 7 of his last 10. So, just on fire. Gets a really nice matchup. I thought the plus odds were the cherry on top that made this play. I don't want to say a no-brainer, but a pretty easy ad, I guess I'll say. So Corey Seager over 1.5 total bases. Shop that one a little bit. FanDuel's almost not even worth checking. They almost never have the best odds, but I have not looked over there. I got plus 100 earlier on 365, I believe, but I think it was plus 100 on DraftKings as well. So really like this spot for Corey Seager.
Yeah, he's been playing well. Someone asked about on the chat where the Braves game is on FanDuel. It's been coming in and out. I don't know. I feel like all day it's been listed then not listed, listed then not listed.
Yeah,
so it's like that's like one of those weird games where I don't know. I'm checking on DraftKings right now. Sorry, I didn't mean to gum up the works of the conversation we have going here, but I don't see it on FanDuel either, but it is on DraftKings. So I think they were waiting for the Tigers to list a starter for a while, and then so it was kind of been going in and out. So it should be there on DraftKings. I don't see it on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Tyler here broke
Tigers.
FanDuel.
I don't remember who the Tigers announced as their starter. Somebody that not that significant. Mason Endler. Maybe Tone knows a little bit more about Mason than I. I mean, he's pitched 36 innings, which is actually kind of crazy. He must. I'm sure he's out of the bullpen most of the time.
Yeah, the bullpen a lot.
Yeah, he's a bullpen guy. So I don't really know what their plan is there. That game's been off FanDuel for so much of the day that I haven't even really looked at that game. Actually, on that note, what's Charlie Morton set at strikeouts? Please say is.
Let me check the Pick Sports app.
It's probably
my guess is 6.5. I was thinking 6 juice. I mean, did you see Paxton, whatever? Like he's listed at 7.5.
Yeah,
which is probably fair with how bad the Rockies have been against lefties. But
yeah,
let's see.
Yeah, we're looking at it's on DraftKings. It's 6.5 at minus 150. It just makes that unplayable. I mean, you have to play that up to 8 In
Yeah.
my, some people are cool with -150 juice. I'm not saying that's a bad play, but not quite my style. I'd rather just take the risk and take like the +140 or whatever it is for 8. But
Yeah.
I'm out. I'm not going to take them for 8.
So people in the chat are also mentioning how like the strikeout props have been ridiculous. Yeah, I kind of really have moved away from strikeout props because it becomes a matter of A, they've just been super inconsistent for me and I'm not enjoying them as much as I have in years past. But it's also a matter of, as people were mentioning, who we just mentioned, there's a lot of spots where you're like, oh, that's a good spot. You check the line opening, where it opens at, and it's usually just makes you feel sick. Like,
Yeah.
I saw packs. It's like, oh wow, lefty versus Colorado on the road. This is gonna be a great spot. And then 7.5, and it's just like it's hard. It's so hard to back that, and then
Yeah.
it's so hard to take the under because you don't really know. Slash, you don't know how bad this Rockies team really has been against lefties. I believe they struck out like 16 times yesterday, and that was at Coors. So they are just struggling against lefties a lot. So he should be in a great game. But yeah, it's really hard to try and nail those down.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Let's see here. So for Tampa, Oakland, I have 2 plays in that game. Do you have any? You don't have any more MLB? Are you
No,
looking
I
at?
don't really have much MLB. I think it's one of those games where I've been looking a lot more for the first 5 or team total markets, but a lot of the weather here is kind of like freaking me out. So I
Understood.
kind of like the idea of offensive props or some unders in bad weather games. But yeah, I was looking at the Rangers are always fun to look at. The Rays have a good matchup, but I didn't end up firing on anything.
Yeah, good deal. I'll rattle off 2 more plays with that being the case. First one is going to be James Caprillion under 17.5 outs.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
good one.
This is I don't really have to say but so much about the Rays offense, but I guess of course I will. They're obviously fucking awesome. And this is just a brutal spot for him. He's got a 7.18 ERA at home. He has an 8.46 1.76 whip, 32nd percentile in exit velocity, 30th percentile in expected batting average, 14th percentile in expected ERA. He's 23rd in K rate, so he doesn't really miss a lot of bats. He's 10th in walk rate, so he puts himself in danger that he doesn't need to create. He checks every box for a fade in my mind. And versus righties, the Rays are really good. They're 7th in average, 2nd in on base percentage, 1st in slugging, 1st in WRC plus. Cap has also been a pretty good target for steals, so they should be able to run all over him, creating even more disaster. So he started in 8 games. He's pitched in 11. 3 were out of the bullpen. He started 8 of them. The first couple, he was just trying to get his pitch count up. So take this with a grain of salt. But he's only over in 2 of 8. I think the Rays, they're just going to give this man so much trouble, whether it be hits, walks, steals, probably home runs as well. I think they can keep the base paths full enough and get enough guys across the plate that they'll have to knock him out of this game eventually. It is hard with Oakland because, what are they going to, they're going to switch from one guy with a 7 ERA to the other guy with a 7 ERA, it kind of makes it tough for him sometimes,
I don't
but
know, man. The
same
A's
time,
have to care. Tony Sam in the chat asks if they care. The A's they're hot, man. They've won what, five games, right?
they
5
are.
straight.
Yes,
I,
yes.
I saw
I
a
should
stat.
give them their flowers really quick.
I saw a stat yesterday that if they went out the rest of the year like they're doing, they'd have 112 wins. It's a franchise record for them. Like
That's incredible.
they've
We're
turned it.
basically there.
Yeah, they've really turned a leaf. They're going to be the best team in the league. They currently are. This is a big test for the Rays, honestly. Is this
Yeah,
series
yeah, sure is.
to see if they can stack up against the best team out there.
Yeah, it sure is. Somebody mentions -125 to the under. That's a little disappointing. It was +100 when I locked it in, but again, a lot
Can
of
I
these.
interest you in the one I was looking at too, where I don't know. I think the reason I don't like it is because it's so playable. The Rays over 2.5 is -115 for first 5. Like,
Weird.
why? I guess it's a righty, so it's a little bit better if you're trying to back the Rays, where they just mash lefties. So that would probably be a crazy line if it was a lefty. But man, he's Caprile, like whatever you pronounce his name. He's just not been great at home at all, like or on the road, or just in general. I
No,
just
he's
think it's.
been pretty awful.
We saw it yesterday I know it was a lefty with Perez, but that first inning, the Rays were snubbed. I'm not snubbed, but they were lucky. Like, Perez and the Rangers were lucky that the Rays didn't put up 4 or 5 in that first inning. They had bases loaded on back to back to back hits. They were already with 1 run in with no outs, and they already had
Yep.
bases loaded, and they had a strikeout and a flyout where they didn't tag up. So this offense is just so good
So
that
good.
It's a little surprising to see a 2.5 line there.
That is odd, and it's almost weird. Like you can put on your tinfoil hat and start to ask. So every once in a while, you'll find like subtle hints by the books of, because baseball is a weird, hard to predict sport. So it's so easy to bet the obvious a lot of the times, but the obvious doesn't always work out. And sometimes the books almost leave you little hints, like maybe they're suggesting James Caprillion pitches really well tonight, and if he does, I'll just tip my cap, move on. But I cannot resist this 17 and a half
Yeah,
outline.
that's that's how my thinking is with the Royals and Reds games. I feel like I've seen a lot of people on the over just because it's two quote unquote terrible pitchers, and it's almost like I don't know, like there's a lot more that goes into it than just seeing a guy that sucks and just immediately riding against it. So
No doubt.
yeah,
No doubt. I have one more look in this game. Similar mindset with this one. More, adding on to my Caprillion fade to a certain extent. I'm going to take Wander Franco over 1.5 total bases. Really nice spot for him. Really, really like this kid. Which isn't really saying much because he was, I believe, the number one prospect last year when he came up. So, not going out on a limb to say that he's good, but he's pretty fucking good. There's plenty of really good Rays to pick from. Josh Lowe. Somebody said, "Were you frozen?" I don't think so. Am I good? You guys can hear me?
I can hear you, but
Okay, cool.
I thought you were good.
Okay. Wander Franco, yes, he there's several good Rays to pick from. I really thought about Josh Lowe as well. But I went with the chalky spot, fairly similar to Seager. I know he's going to bat earlier in their lineup. He's plus odds, man. So I can't really argue. It's hard to walk away from guys like Wander and Corey at plus odds. So instead of going with one of their, I guess, lesser known teammates, not the superstars, but still the really good players, and guys like Josh Jung, and for Tampa, Josh Lowe. Those are great choices as well. But I'll just kind of stick with the stars if I'm getting them at plus odds in really great matchups. Lefty bats are definitely the ones to look for here. He's been getting crushed by the lefties. 300 average, 6 doubles, 6 homers, and 80 at bats. Wander Franco is a switch hitter, by the way, which obviously when he faces righty, we'll put him on the left side. I had a couple more notes about Caprillion and his terrible stats, but we just kind of went over all of those. But while batting lefty, Wander Franco has 15 doubles, 2 triples, 6 homers. So the power numbers are there. That is a little over 200 at bat, so a large sample size. He's just an extra base machine. Big ballpark, not necessarily a guy that I like for a home run quite as much, but man, doubles in that ballpark can come, quickly and often. So, nice spot for him. He should see cap 2 to 3 times before he passes off to the worst bullpen in
Maybe
baseball.
even 4 times if he goes complete game, like he probably will.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So he should see him a good amount of times, and then another situation very similar to Seager, where I would imagine will bat second on the road. So if their offense gets going, then 5 at bats is not out of the realm of possibility here either. So Wander Franco over 1.5 total bases. I believe it's still plus 110 on DraftKings.
Yeah. So Tone Stat was making a joke about being frozen in time. That's what he was saying.
Ah,
Quick side thing here, because I was at the beach all last week for vacation. I was at a coffee shop and I looked outside, and there was a guy wearing a Blake Griffin like early Clippers jersey, and for a second I thought it was like 2010 again. I don't know. I thought it was weird. I guess maybe it's not that uncommon of a jersey, but I haven't seen a Blake Rivers like Clippers jersey out in the wild in forever. So I just saw this guy walking around, and it kind of threw me off for a loop there. So
yeah. Tone
yeah,
is correct though. However, it's crazy because he's 22 years old, but and he was hurt a lot last year, which maybe where
yeah,
my mental lapse came in. But yeah, this is year 3 for Wander Franco. Easy to forget. My goodness gracious.
yeah. I mean, there's some stats like that that just blow your mind about how time works in sports so many times. It's really weird.
Indeed.
So is that all your MLB
Well,
stuff? Is
well,
that
I
5?
think we'd upset a lot of people if we didn't at least kick some tires on some homer ideas.
Yeah. So if we're talking home runs, I will say I don't want it to be the guy that's like, oh, be careful here or there. But yeah, if you look at that ballpark, pal, or like the Roto Grinders weather for today, holy hell, it looks like a lot of doubles are in play. But there is just a lot of bad weather outside. I don't know if you're on the East Coast, but it's raining all day here. 95 exploded. There's so much going on where The best games probably to look for a home run might be the Rangers game, or the Arizona game, but I feel like the Phillies can never play well in Arizona, so I don't really know what to think about that.
Yeah, tough call. Somebody asked about the 100% profit boost on FanDuel, which is kind of funny. I actually haven't used mine, so I'm going to be somewhat forced into an eighth play, which is not a problem. There was a couple other things that didn't quite make the cut, but I have not used mine yet. Going back over the plays, I mean, I think it's tough. I probably would not go Weaver with it. I mean, shit, if you can get Corey Seager at plus 200 for total bases, that might be my move. However, if you are in the Discord, you can hold off for a little bit. I will have an eighth play because obviously will not let that go to waste by any means. So haven't
Yeah.
used mine yet. Plan to use it.
Yeah. Where do y'all pull these properties? Yeah, I think my max bet was like $10, but I did get the 100% boost.
I get a lot
But
of $25 maxes, which is fine. It's a half unit. I usually try to go for a little bigger value. Last night was so awesome. I took Duran from Boston over 1.5 total bases, and it hit first pitch of the game. Then it left me with like just time to just chill out and decompress from the week. Doing this 7 days a week is the greatest fucking thing in the world, but also can kind of wear on you if you're not careful. So it's nice every once in a while to take a couple hours and just walk the fuck away. And I got to do that thanks to, my goodness, shut up, Tone. Everybody makes fun of how I say people's names. Duran, Jaron Duran, whatever. I think Boston is a nice target for homers. I'm not sure that the weather is quite permitting. Let me pull up Ballpark Pal myself before we
yeah,
start
I
kicking.
think that's a good. The Rangers game's a good one to target that.
Yeah,
Um,
I
yeah,
like this matchup a lot for the Boston guys, especially some of the lefties. Seabold is not great. It's not terrible, minus 12% for home runs. I've seen a lot worse in Boston over the past few weeks. So, and when you see minus 12%, that's not really moving the needle that much. Now, when you see Kaufman at minus 34%, that's a significant difference. Minus 12 is probably not even close to one less home run like projected, if that makes any sense. Like
yeah,
12% is really not that significant. So, it doesn't quite chase me away, but yeah, Chase Field. The Miami and Seattle game is pretty tempting. T-Mobile Park, which is a rare plus today. It's +7, and I guess the league kind of figured out that Bryce Miller goes out there and throws his fastball 95% of the time. So they caught up and knocked him the hell around lately. So
yeah,
you can kind of look at Miami guys, maybe Jesus Sanchez or something like that. Jorge Soler does a lot more of his damage versus lefties. However, if his power is obviously so evident that if he gets one of those fastballs in a good spot, he could easily go yard. But I like that number at Fenway. Adam Duvall is kind of intriguing to me. He just came back from the IL a couple days ago. I don't think he's quite put it back together yet, but I think it's coming pretty soon. And I'm sure you can get some pretty good odds for an Adam Duvall home run. He started this season so hot. So he was batting 455 with 4 home runs in like 8 games or 9 games before he got hurt. He's come back. He's one of 6 since. He struck out 3 out of 3 times in his first game. Shook off the rust. He got the night off yesterday. Adam Duvall for a homer is kind of intriguing to me. In that game, obviously Devers is a little bit more of a chalky choice that I definitely don't mind. Texas, I think I saw somebody mention Adolis Garcia in the chat. I also like Jung to homer. I like Seager to homer. So, man, it's hard to not find several guys that are intriguing there. Philly, Arizona, I want to like a home run play there. I'm just not real sure where to look because Henry's been a little bit better recently, and then it's a bullpen game for the Phillies. So
yeah,
it's always a little harder to predict home runs in bullpen games, but it's hard to ignore what Corbin Carroll's been doing. This guy is absolutely obliterating the ball. So if you are looking for a home run play, that would probably be my move is Corbin Carroll from that game. So I don't know. I just wanted to get a couple ideas out there for
no,
home run before we shift to the
perfect.
NBA.
Yeah, now I can shift to what could be, could not be. Gonna have to figure out if this is the last game of the series of the season. It's hard to believe that the Heat can do it for game 5 to force a game 6. They just kind of get overpowered, but they
Yeah.
do have this weird magic about them where they've been somehow winning some games that you really just have no clue how it's even possible. So the over under I believe is like in the 210, low 210s. The
Yeah.
the spreads at 9. You just have to hope that if you're playing props in this game, it's a tough battle. If it's a blowout, you don't want to be not competitive, but at the same time, if it's a blowout either way, as long as it's the Nuggets that are doing the blowout, it's almost just thinking you still might see starters play a good run because A, you don't want to blow it, because 20 points is never a safe lead, even if it is at that point. And B, they do stay out there and they close out. You want them to do that because they don't have to worry about resting for a game 6. So I'm not too worried about props on this side. What is your first play in this game, Ryan?
For the third game in a row, I'm going to run Nikola Jokic over 41.5 points plus rebounds. We know the minutes are going to be there, which has been a tough thing to find which role players are going to do this and that, and who's going to get the extended minutes. So I said, "Fuck it, man! I'm tired of dealing with the Gabe Vincents of the world and the Michael Porters of the world that you just don't know. You just don't know. So I'm done dealing with the role players, and I'm all right just going with some of the chalk and." Jokic absolutely mashed this line in games 2 and 3. He missed it in game 1. He had 37. So he needed 5 more, but he only took 12 shots. Now he did have a lot of work at the free throw line, but he only, still at the end of the day, he only took 12 shots. Last game, he seemed like he was on a really nice pace. He picked up those 2 quick fouls at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Kind of took him out of his rhythm. He did play the last like 4 or 5 minutes. I don't even know if he scored a point or got a rebound. So weird stuff. So hopefully, we got to kind of cross our fingers that no more foul trouble comes into play. But this is a nice line for him. This man, he's averaging 30.8 points, 13.5 rebounds so far. He's shooting 20 times a game, shooting 4 threes, 8 free throws. He's got 21 rebound chances a game. He's only converting 62.8%, which is a few ticks shy of what he averaged in the regular season. So, potential for a little bit better efficiency there from on his rebounding. And the Murray Joker pick and roll has just been so good all series. I see there's no reason to stop it now, and in front of their home crowd, I am led to believe that they definitely would want to close this out tonight. Stop playing with their food. Let's just get this shit over with in front of our home crowd and celebrate. So I don't think 44 minutes is out of the question here by any means for Joker. Maybe a 4-minute rest in the second quarter, but he might play the rest of the way. Unless he gets taken out for a blowout or some nonsense. So this is a prop that's really fucking fun to watch too. It's not obviously what I always go for. Sometimes I just want to make the money, but this is also one that's just so much fun because he obviously, he's the best rebounder on the floor, best scorer on the floor too, arguably. So he's going to be launching shots. He's going to be right there for rebounds. So to watch him kind of pick away at this 42 point plus rebound line that we need is definitely going to be a lot of fun. So went Jokic over 41.5 rebounds plus point.
It is funny that you kind of jumped on something that I've been saying during the show we do every day, the GoldBoys lunch break or GoldBoys live, whatever we call it now at the 1 p.m. shows, is that this is a series where it's so hard to back some of these guys. You talk about the role players, especially with the Heat. Tyler Hero is allegedly going to play. Who knows if that's 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it's going to be. But it's so hard because a lot of these Heat players, like, the Vincents, the, Hero being back, the like Caleb Martins, like all these people, like they have all these role players that it's tough to back because they're going to run rotations that they think is going to keep them alive in the games. And if you bet on a guy and they start off slow and they find the next man up to give good, solid minutes, it almost kind of just destroys any hope you have right off the bat. So you went with Jokic for your star and do the whole stars be stars. I am going to be this. I don't know if it's too chalky because, funnily enough, as chalky as he's been all playoffs, I haven't seen many posts or many people on Jimmy Butler, but I am going to bet on Jimmy Butler today. I found a good price. I don't know if he's have you seen people because he's not looked super healthy, but the last 2 games he's finally starting to be more aggressive. Last 2 games, he's put up 28 and 25 points. And I actually like this price I found on DraftKings or on MGM, where I did alt lines, where I took his 25 plus points, and I put it along with 5 plus rebounds. And the reason I went that route It's plus 105. It's minus 120 on FanDuel. And, it sounds lame, but it is playoff Jimmy Butler in an elimination game. He is seeing 10.5 rebound chances per game in the series. He only has 5 or more in 2 of the 4 games so far. He's also only scored 25 in 2 of the 4 games, but I like this pairing. His PR line is at 33.5. And I just think it's one of those things where he's going to play 40 minutes almost regardless what happens because it's, like I said, elimination game. They need to win. The only way I could see him sitting is if there's any way that the Heat are the ones that blow him out, which doesn't seem super likely. I think he's going to be aggressive. And part of being aggressive is not just scoring, but it also is the rebounding aspect where he had 7 rebounds last game. And I just think that if he is out there and he's giving it his all in his last game, the points and the rebounds will come. So I like the give and take there. Where so far in a Miami Heat uniform, he's played in like his last 7 elimination games. He's hit the 25-5 in 5 of those 7.
Nice.
And I think you talk about the magic that he can have. He's not been super healthy. He's not been this and that, but he looks a lot better the last 2 games. His field goal volume has really increased, and I think the rebound numbers will also pick up for him. So I just think this is one where if it loses, it's plus 105. You go down with the Miami Heat. You go down with the ship. You go down with Jimmy Butler. But I do think he'll see crazy minutes on this one.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I too have a Jimmy Butler prop. So we're
Wow.
basically going to cover every Jimmy Butler possibility tonight, which is funny.
What did
Um,
you think is his RA or assist or?
I took RA. So I'm trying to
I
line
was
check real
tempted. I was
quick.
tempted to do like a 25-4-4 or something like that, but I landed on the 25-5. I think he's gonna be heavily involved, but I like the idea of attacking like an alt lines for him rather than like the big line for the PRA.
Yeah, understandable for sure. I personally went over 12 and a half rebounds plus assist. This is minus 122 on FanDuel. This is minus 120 on DraftKings. This is the only two I looked at personally. So feel free to shop it around. And BetMGM seems to have a lot of the best prices these days if you're not a Bet365 state. So but I think this is a really advantageous line for him, in my opinion. I think there's a decent chance, I don't think 48 minutes is out of the question. I wouldn't guarantee it by any means, but like at what point is he going to rest? And even if he does, he's probably not sitting more than 2 minutes at a time. I couldn't imagine, maybe 3 minutes, but backs against the wall, high urgency situation. Let's back their highest usage guy that they're going to have. He's for the postseason, he's over this line 57% of games. He's over an 8 out of 10, which I'm not a huge trend guy, but if I am a trend guy NBA wise, it's definitely more so for rebounds and assists than it is for points generally. So 8 out of 10 is one that definitely caught my eye. He's second on the Heat rebound chances this postseason at 13.1. Now you did mention his rebound chances; they are a little bit down this series, but he's still picking up enough to hit this at a frequent rate. He's also first on the Heat in potential assists at 10.3 a game. And these numbers are with 39.7 minutes a game. So if we add in an extra 5, 6, maybe even 8 minutes, not to mention the urgency that they'll need to play with, I really like Jimmy Butler to hit this line over 12.5 rebounds plus assists.
Yeah, I like that. Again, like I said, when you talk about aggression and stepping up, I think the rebounds will come. I do think they will come, even though his rebound chances are down this series. Backs against the wall, as you mentioned, he's gonna play a lot of minutes. If you're on there, he's gonna have to just exist long enough to get some rebounds. And I think he might even see some offensive rebounds because he just hasn't been as aggressive as you would like to see. So it's now or never for Jimmy Butler.
Absolutely. Doesn't get any more now or never than this.
Yeah, I mean, and at what point, man, Jimmy Butler, he keeps saying like, oh, I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered by the. He keeps being so cool in his interviews, but eventually, it's not as cool to be cool if you don't eventually step up. Like they keep losing these games. I'm a huge Jimmy Butler fan, but you keep seeing his post game interviews where he doesn't really seem worried at all. At some point, you gotta get really worried. You're playing the best team in the league right now, and you're
Yeah.
down 3-1. So there's not really much more time to be kind of like a cool person and kind of unfazed by the fact you're down 3-1. So this has got to be the game for him.
You would think so. You would definitely think. Yeah, I like a whole lot of Jimmy Butler, and I like Jokic too. So instead of trying to play the circus and guess. I mean, I'm just going to say a prayer for anybody with Michael Porter in their slips today, because I get it. I really want to as well, but when you're sitting there in the third quarter, like 6 minutes in, you see him go to the
You
bench,
know, yeah, you know you're
knowing if
out.
he's
Yeah.
coming back, it's so painful. Like it's so
Yeah, and he
painful.
has not played the fourth quarter in 3 straight games, so it's a rough one to take. I was talking about it. Tony St mentions unders. I think a fun thing to do if this is the last game of the season and you want to have some fun. I told Will Hill and people on the show that if Michael Porter Jr. his first attempt, if it goes in, I might just bet his live unders. If it goes in, I might just take his live overs. If he misses, I might just take his live unders
I like
because
that.
that's almost like polarizing where his confidence is so low right now, and that playing in Denver tonight is either going to make or break it. Because if that first shot goes in, he's going to get such a big cheer from those fans. But
Yeah.
if it does not, you might see some deflated ego even more if the home crowd starts booing you in the first quarter of a game 5 in the finals. So I think
Well,
that'd be
we
a
just got
fun
a
one.
sub, so thank you very much for
Oh,
the
thank
sub.
you so much. We appreciate that.
Hell yeah, we
Last
do.
thing I want to mention before moving on, I said, someone asked, I'll cover this first in the chat because it's more Michael Porter Jr. He said, does he get more minutes if they up big?
I
Honestly, I
don't
don't
know.
think so. I almost think that's more insulting to him in terms of, going into next season. I
Yeah,
think
go
if
ahead.
they,
Clean up our garbage time, Mike.
yeah, I think
Suck.
because like there's no reason to quote unquote build up his confidence for next game if they're up big because there is no next game. So I don't think that the one bet we were talking about was 7-1. I was talking about now it's plus 650. For the first 3-pointer of the games we made for Michael Porter Jr. Like it's like first of the game. I mean, we've been seeing it. He's
I
not hitting the
sprinkle that.
shots. Yeah, and I think it's just funny because that means if like someone pulls up from three, it's not Michael Porter Jr. for the first shot of the game, you can scream for those like 2 seconds for that ball to not go in, which just sounds so fun to me. But
I
the
will happily bet this with you. I love
yeah, I don't know, just something to sprinkle on. I had a free bet, put it on there. I used half my free bet for Castellanos to hit a home run after the I-95, and then now I used the other half for this. But
smart
yeah, I
man.
think it's one of those things where I think you saw it in game 4. It was almost painful. I think he started off 1 for 4, 1 for 5. The Nuggets were hardcore trying to get him going early to build his confidence, and he just could not make a shot. Like they were trying
Yeah.
so hard to, set up a few looks in the first few possessions for him, and he just bricked it. It was really hard
Yeah.
to watch. The book for the first 3 of the game, it's on FanDuel plus 650. I think it'd be a fun thing to root for.
Oh yeah.
And then I think we covered a lot for that game, so we can kind of move on to the pick up popular plays.
Sure, man.
Um, Actually, Pickett just made a post on their Twitter about their popular plays, so I already have them up. But
Oh
it's
nice.
Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, and Jimmy Butler. And as we talked about many times on the show, it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of role players for this teams that you just don't know how to back,
Yeah.
especially on the Heat now with a lot of uncertainty with rotations. That Jamal Murray, I think if you were betting on his assists, it's a great look. His hand looks a little messed up after last game where he was a little bit more timid to shoot. And Will Hill has an 8-1 ticket for Murray's to be the leading player in assists for the thing. He's a 10 assist lead now.
That's
I
awesome.
almost I almost think it's worth playing a double double for Jamal Murray because he's at the point where I feel like he kind of half cares about these milestones, and 10 plus assists each game would be really awesome. I think that's kind of where they're leading in this series, where he's just making so many playmaking abilities because they're just going to play Jokic one on one to make sure that they'd rather him score than him to just find open shooters like they did game 1.
Yeah. Yeah, damn. Yeah, I mean Murray makes a lot of sense. I mentioned it at some point earlier in the show. Like his assists feels like the only thing we've ever been able to count on in this series. So, no arguments here. I feel a little dumb. Very similar to LeBron in the Nuggets series. In Game 1, I played LeBron's assists, and I had this super detailed write up about why I think he's going to have a huge series for assists. And then I only played him game 1, and I just watched him go off with assists every fucking game of the series. Did the exact same thing in the finals with Jamal Murray. He had a 5-5 lineman in game 1, and I gave this long explanation of why I think he's going to crush assists this series. He hits game 1, and what do? Games 2, 3, 4, I ignore that shit. Don't play it like because I'm a fool. Now he's sitting at an 8.5 line. It just kind of feels like he missed the bus. And, I'm
Yeah.
not sure I want to go chase that bus at this point. Maybe it's more personal than anything, which
Hmm.
is probably a little stupid, arrogant way to put
Yeah,
it.
and
But
I saw some people do some alt parlays where if you wanted to do like an 8+ assist and pair it with like a Jokic under 12 and a half, something like that, because if you think about it, they correlate well. And
sure.
Jokic, as good as he is, I mean, he has 2 games now under 5 assists. Where I mean, if he's gonna play 1-on-1 and they're gonna let him get the open looks and not let him find open man, I mean, he's not necessarily having to rack up the assists. So I wonder if you go to Jokic as a second person, I'm guessing without even looking, it's going to be mostly his points, and that's hard to back. I mean, it's hard not to back. 20 and a half or 29 and a
Rebounds,
half.
actually.
Really, a lot of his rebounds. That's interesting.
Rebounds, then
Wow.
points,
Okay.
then
It's
assists, and then threes.
boards are the most. I like his boards. I think that's fine, but I think they're sitting at 12 and a half right now, I believe. And he's had some really low rebounding games in the series, and then he's had some huge games. Like they had
Yeah.
the 21 rebound game. So I don't hate the boards. I don't hate the boards at all. I just figured that it would be his points that'd be king right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Slightly. I mean, no, it's not even that slight. 400 more picks on rebounds than it is points. But obviously, I like both quite a bit. Even if one's a little down, I think the other one has a really good shot to pick the other one up. So, I've already gone over points plus
Yeah.
rebounds. So, big fan of that myself.
And lastly, if you wanted to back it, I mean, I know there's always that Jimmy Butler elimination threat to go off, but plus 110 for Jokic to lead the game in points, that also seems really nice. I mean, he's just been scoring at will, and even if Butler has a great game, Jokic can easily stay with him if you believe he can. So still plus money for that. And then lastly is Jimmy Butler. So
Sure.
that's what I'm interested in. It's kind of fitting that the last play of the season I might have would be like a more chalky one because I feel like that's usually not how I like to operate. But yeah, his assists for the top pick and then his points are second. Rebounds, a lot of rebounds, but it looks like Pickett users are doing kind of what I'm doing, where I think he's kind of a guy you can attack for the alt because he's going to be giving 110% and he's going to be out there for so long where
Yeah.
I think he has a lot of fun options to do alt plays with him in terms of 20 points, 25 points, 4, whatever you want to do for the RA. But
For
I do
sure.
think he's a fun option to play in that way.
No doubt.
Wow,
No
I
doubt.
think we covered a lot of the Pickett profit plays through our own plays. So
Yeah.
that was kind of nice that we aligned with the Pickett community.
No doubt, no doubt. Bam is reasonably fourth. His points plus rebounds. I took that last game, and he had 3 points plus rebounds in the final minute to hit, which is
Wow.
so fucking awesome.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's nothing better. There's nothing better than that.
but it's a look I heavily considered. He's another guy. I mean, they've been playing him happily for 40 plus minutes, so he reasonably could see he could go the full 48 if he stays out of foul trouble. I don't think that's ridiculous. So, I've gained a lot of respect for Bam in this series. I think he's been awesome. He's actually their leading scorer in the series at 22 point whatever he's averaging. But gained a lot of respect for him. A 30.5 point plus rebound line is something I never envisioned myself playing for Bam, but
Yeah.
he's hit it at a nice rate in the series so far. He hit it last game. It felt like a miracle, but he hit it nonetheless. And the opportunity will definitely be there. So another one I looked at, but I did not officially lock it in. But I guess if you wanted one more prop to fuck around with, Bam PR was another one I looked at. I didn't really have any hesitation. I played Jokic and Bam PR in the same game. And, traditionally I wouldn't do that sort of thing. But when these guys are playing such heavy minutes, I really wasn't hesitant to back them both, even though they're effectively dueling each other.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't really hesitate to do it. But in this specific case, I did not take it. But prop that I did like.
Yeah, and I think it kind of wraps up. If you want to kind of riff through real quick your
Yeah.
18 props.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's we'll roll back NBA and then I'll throw out the 5 baseball plays. I have Nikola Jokic over 41.5 points plus rebounds. I have Jimmy Butler over 12.5 rebounds plus assists. I have 2 total base props. I have Wander Franco over 1.5 total bases. I have Corey Seager over 1.5 total bases. I have 2 pitching props. James Caprillion of the Oakland Athletics under 17.5 outs. I have Luke Weaver of the Cincinnati Reds over 4.5 strikeouts. And then my final one is a batter prop I have Matt McClain of the Cincinnati Reds over 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBI.
Love it. And then for me, I just have 2 plays. I actually, was happy to hear you had a lot because I didn't get a chance to look into it as much as you did. So I just am running a parlay, 2 legs, Jimmy Butler 25 plus points and 5 plus rebounds plus 105 on MGM or DraftKings. And then I took a weird prop that sounds so obscure that it should hit in the MLB, which is I took the Cincinnati Reds and the Kansas City Royals under 5 for the first 5 innings of the game. And I think that kind of wraps up our show. I mean, as always, we're sponsored by Sleeper Picks and Pickett Sports. And Ryan, do you want to kind of send us out here?
Yeah, I mean, you just hit on a lot of the big portions. Thanks, Pickett. Thanks, Sleeper Picks, for the sponsors. And as always, we were actually talking about it before the show. We're actually a little over 1 year, so this is roughly week 56 or something like that of doing that. So, I'm sorry, of doing this show. And it's really cool. Sometimes we'll go down and see some of the comments of people talking about shit they saw in shows like 40 weeks ago. So definitely know that a lot of these people, a lot of you guys tune in weekly, which is really, really awesome stuff. And if this is your first time, welcome and thanks for tuning in. And, we do this on Monday every week. So we'll see you again next week.